format of a video. Just trying something new, get my mind off of things and stuff like that. Um, I took some notes that I wanted to talk with you guys about. It's like, as you can see, like 2.5 pages. Um, yeah, so we're gonna go over that. But while we do that, I'm also gonna be doing test hands with Talion, just to get some practice with the deck since I need to find more time throughout the week to play test hands and stuff like that. I work at noon today, so it's probably going to be a little bit of a shorter one. I'm thinking like 30, 40 minutes. But yeah, um, there's just some things over like the past 3 to 4 weeks that have been going through my mind in regards to CDH and the challenges that come from it when trying to compete at a high level. Um, but while I discuss that, I'm going to find my Dark Ritual and replace it, and then find 2 cuts for Storm Drake and Subtlety that I got the other day. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call the episode "Where We Go From Here." It's gonna We're gonna go over like the last two CDH tournaments and how we did, and then like the withdrawals. I'm gonna say withdrawals, but it's not really withdrawals from them. Um, but yeah, so the last 2 weeks we did a Command Fest in Tacoma, and then CDH6 obviously, which we have a tournament recap video for. Um, I played Rogsai at CDH6, and then I sleeved up Blue Farm for Command Fest. I did poorly in both of the tournaments, or at least not what I wanted to do or how I wanted to perform. The CDH6 one, I had high expectations of myself, and I just didn't meet those expectations, which can definitely be frustrating. Um, yeah, we uh, we had these goals and aspirations of like making top cut. We didn't make top cut. And I got it. There were some outside forces that, which I think played a factor, but that's not really an excuse, right? I can talk more into them. Um, I let the attempt at personal relationships or personal relationships as a whole or peer pressure get to me. Um, and it definitely affected my mental capability, which is unfortunate because I know that I'm a good player. Um, you guys know that I'm a good player, but when I needed to be a good player, it just didn't happen, right? Um, which is interesting. Um, I'm looking for my original foil Flusterstorm as I speak. But yeah, it was a that was a rough one. I went through quite a bit, like a week's worth of mental agony, really, about it. I dwelled on it like almost every night about different games or how I just wasn't mentally there, which is unfortunate. Um, but nonetheless, we move on from that. We learn from it. Um, I don't know how to improve like outside forces or like personal relationships getting in the way, but that's okay. Um, yeah, but yeah, I definitely was dwelling on it for the next week. Even still, I'm still kind of dwelling on it. Moved on a little bit more, but that really got me thinking, what deck do I want to play at Command Fest, which I signed up for kinda on a whim, and then we had 4 people um, from the Bellingham area mog down with us, which was a great time. It was a blast. Got some cool things signed. Got some altars, like this Talion is an altar, um, and it's signed by the artist. Next time I see her, she said that she'll be able to do some art on the back. She was just very busy that day, which is fantastic. I would love to get some kind of art done on the Talion. But yeah, so that's something I've been dealing with the last few weeks. Um, and then, of course, whenever you do bad at a tournament or not to your expectations, you're going to lose like the lack of drive. I'm recording this on Tuesday. Normally I record on like Sunday or Monday and edit it, put it out on Tuesday. But I'm gonna record it. I'm gonna upload it and try getting it out sometime today. I work at noon. I work 12 to 8 today, so we'll see if we get it done. But I had like a real lack of motivation to do anything magic related recently. Um, and I think that has to do with like the sense of like self-worth from the tournament, um, which is fine because I think there's always going to be those ups and downs when doing any kind of hobby or job or anything that you really enjoy. Uh, but it's a weird experience because you're like, I gotta do better, be better, um, and when you're not, it's weird to find those things sometimes once you hit a rut of losing, which it's okay to lose. Like that's something that we all have to understand is that not everyone's gonna win every tournament. Atlas had a stint of losing pretty regularly. I have obviously playing Fibble Fib. I'm used to losing, but there's still always like this like pride that comes along with winning. Um, and a lot of us like being prideful, which I think is a great thing. Um, yeah, I wrote down here, how do we find joy in the format again? That's why I'm playing Talion, because I don't think the deck's very good. I'm not the biggest fan of Talion, but I like playing the deck because when you go to win, it's very hard to win. So you have to do complicated lines in order to win the game because your best win con is Historical. Um, it's like really your only win con unless you're like Hull Breakering. Um, so yeah, uh, you have to like finagle your way with like a Beseech the Mirror, sacking Talion, um, or something along those lines, to get rid of Talion when you go for your win, so you don't just die from your Talion. Um, I'm still deciding what two cards to take out, but we're here. The next thing that we say, how to find the drive to continue to innovate lists and continue on those lists. This is to deal with like Rogsai. I didn't feel like playing Rogsai at the Command Fest in Tacoma, even though that's what I should have been playing, because that's the deck I said I was committed to playing. Um, I just didn't want to play it. Here's the bad card, Oppo. Um, yeah, so how do you find the drive after you do bad with a deck to continue on that deck because you know the deck's good and all you need is practice and you have to realize that every tournament's not going to be your tournament. And I don't know, but that's something I gotta work on figuring out because I have a big problem of being like, this is the deck I'm going to stick with, and then changing decks the very next week, which I don't know if it's like a lack of self-discipline or what it is. 1 second while I grab sleeves, but it's something I gotta definitely improve on and get better at. Yeah, next thing on the list is I wrote there's a sense of grief or disappointment when you don't reach your goals you have set for yourself. It usually takes about 2 weeks for me to get over the bad experience performance. So back to back clearly still had an effect on my mental capability, whether it's self confidence or mental fortitude, which I guess is already what I was talking about. But um, yeah, I've noticed that it takes about 2 weeks for me to get out of like the mental rut after doing poorly in a tournament. Which there has to be a way for me to like improve that after a bad performance, because it's going to be more bad performances. Um, I'm human. We all have bad performances. Um, I can say that I'm a top player, but even top players fail. There's been multiple years where like Tom Brady loses in the first round of the playoffs after having like a 12-4 season and should make it deeper in the playoffs, but they just don't, which is okay. He's still probably the greatest of all time. Um, yeah, some of the yeah, so that's like the mental stuff. Um, Things I can probably do better is having like a better support group, which I have a terrific one, but actually like using the support group when I'm in that mental rut. I did a little bit on Saturday for CDH6. I told Parker, hey, I'm going out to my car. If I'm not back for players meeting, can you like send me a message or something? And that's just because I needed like a breath of fresh air to try setting my mood right. It didn't work if we're being real, but that's okay. At least I reached out to someone, told them where I was going to be, and then tried finding a solution to the problem. But relying on those people that are around me that do care, I think is going to be a important shift that I'm going to have to take going in the future. But yeah, I wrote a bunch of different ways to maybe improve that I'm going to share with you guys, just because I want to potentially find a solution to myself for myself, and maybe it'll help some of you guys that are out there. Because I know not all of us get the results that we want, and it is frustrating. But yeah, we can learn together. I'm going to start shuffling this and doing test hands while I continue to talk. One of the questions I pondered to myself last yesterday was, should I practice more? Um, should I practice more? Currently, I'm at about 2 days a week. Was at 3 days, but my work schedule changed. Should I find another day to practice? If so, more games, or should I do something else like practice mulligans, seat composition, maybe tournament reviews to get more developed or ingress in the meta? Because I think I have a pretty solid idea of the meta, but um, there's definitely a area where I could get better, right? Um, Whether it is just more practicing, which I think it is more practice, because every time I do spend the month before a tournament playing the same deck and just jamming games, I end up doing better at tournaments. So I think it's just literally putting my head down and playing more games. This is more, the next thing that I wrote is more for like the channel and stuff like that. I think is like, it would be like practice and for the channel. Look into top decks in the meta and figure out strategies or play patterns that are net positive or necessary in beating those decks. So like Nadu right now is a current problem in the meta. Um, and the control players, Atlas, Najila decks, these slower decks that need a little bit a game plan, and these control decks like Tally and Blue Farm are having a real hard time against Nadu just because it attacks at a weird axis and it accrues so much value that control decks can't match. Um, so we've we have to look at the top decks or decks that are giving us problems like the Sisseys and Nadus of the world and adjust our lists or our play patterns in order to beat them. Whether that's like against Nadu, putting in Strict Serenade, um, or other cards like that to straight up counter Nadu or realize the points of attack that you have against Nadu. Whether it's more board wipes or it's more um, counter spells for artifacts or collector oof effects or whatever the cards may be, more targeted removal for you to beat Nadu. Tidebinder even, seeing more play. Whatever you need to do in order to beat the deck, you have to be able to do, right? Because you can't go into a tournament where you're like, this is a guaranteed loss, which is, I think, a lot of people have a problem with, like going up against Atlas. They're like, oh, we're going to lose to Atlas, so let me force a draw, which puts Atlas in a really good position. Sorry, Atlas, for using you as an example, but people say like, well, I only hope to ever get a draw against Atlas, but it's like, well, if the best you can ever do is get a draw, Atlas every game he plays is either going to be a win or a draw, and that's not fair to everyone else at the tournament, right? You can beat Atlas. People can beat Atlas. I've beaten Atlas. We've had great games. Atlas beats me, I beat him, we draw quite often. Um, but don't go into it being like, oh, best I'm gonna do is get a draw. Let's force a draw because that's not gonna be productive for you. You're giving him free points at that point. Because if the worst he can ever do is 1 point, he can play every game, right? Um, but yeah. So I think that's something I'm gonna start doing is doing a deeper dive into these top decks or even just decks within the meta. Hopefully with like pilots of the decks, and then we can hear from them what are the worst cards that they see in the format or cards they don't want to see in the format because it interrupts their game plan that much. I think is going to be pretty good. Make for a pretty good episode and be very like eye-opening to me and hopefully you guys as well. But yeah. Um, and then the next one kind of goes into the same thing, how your deck construction affects your positive or negative matchups and why we are making the decisions we are and if they are beneficial. A lot of the time when deck building, people will play like these pet cards or cards that are generally good against certain matchups, but they don't know why they're good in certain matchups, right? And I think it's important for, I think Atlas does a good job of it with his Cheshire Kenneth list, is each card has a reason to being in the list, which I think is very important for like the actual, ooh, these hands have been bad. I'm down to 5. Um, so every card in his deck has a purpose, has its home, where I think in other people's lists, every card doesn't have a home, doesn't have a reason, right? And I think it's important to at least have some kind of reasoning. I think it's important for you to have some kind of reasoning behind your decisions um, when making deck changes, right? Um, so I think that's an important thing that we should probably have a bigger conversation about as a community and as a whole. And then the last main thing was like I used to play football in high school. I got a scholarship, but then I had to decline it because of health reasons. Um, so I have a lot of experience in high level football training and getting prepped for football games and stuff like that. I said treat Magic slash CDH like football? Question mark. Um, do I devote my life to it, or do I try to balance life, whether with women, other friends? What do I want out of Magic life or career, and how do I achieve it? And then I said, do I actually want that dream or goal through, though realistically, which I think is like a soul searching thing. Um, Many of us play Magic as like a hobby and stuff. Um, but I was fortunate enough to be seen as like a good enough player to where I was offered a spot on Team CDH, which I'm grateful for, and I don't think I would change anything about that. Um, but there becomes a time in your life where you have to think about things realistically and what do I actually want out of Magic. Um, and I think it is to be on Team CDH. Um, but I think in order for me to improve the amount that I want to, I have to devote more of my time to Magic, which I'm okay with. I just have to realize that and make sure that that's actually what I want. Because there's been other opportunities or other things in my life that I could be doing or that I do currently. But if I want to improve in the way that I want to improve, I have to be more focused on it and set more time specific goals or smart goals is something that Taco Time, the place that I work for, is trying to get through our heads right now. Um, yeah, which is like really great. It's been helping me a lot in my work life, so I think I'm able to apply it most likely in Magic and CDH and see the improvements that I want to see. But I have to decide if that's something that I actually want, which I think it is, but it's something I'm gonna have to go through and decide. But yeah, that's basically it. Um, I'll do a few more test hands. This was a down to five, which I think is a fine five. It's an Orchard, Commandeer, Force Wheel, Mystical Tutor, Mystic Remora. Obviously, it's a turn one fish with backup, whether it's a Commandeer or a this or Force Wheel. Like if there's a crypt coming out of someone, you might be tempted to Commandeer it, just because you're gonna draw a card off of it. And then let's just say there was a crypt and we do steal it. And say we draw two more cards. Um, we can pay with the crypt, draw for turn, pay this flooded strand. We can go crack on end step after we draw two more cards, let's say. Go get Undercity Sewers. But yeah, that's like my thought process is the last two tournaments I've done really poorly in, and I don't really know where to go from here. It's something that's been dwelling on my mind, so I wanted to put it out in the world, and maybe it'll help someone else. There's this one song on top. I think we can probably put it in the bin right now. Then we untap. We have the choice of either paying for fish or we cast Talion. I think we're supposed to pay for fish. Draw for turn. Play this. Oh, we're chilling. We just cast a Demonic Tutor, and then we'll fetch. And then realistically, I don't think anyone's going to try fighting through a Talion and a fish. Because we just go get a Jeweled Lotus. Which I always skip over the Jeweled Lotus. But yeah, if you guys have any like things you want to say in the comments, please. Um, yeah, because I will say that I have just been struggling to find enjoyment in Magic, which is okay. I'm gonna buy a Pauper deck, and I have Legacy decks that I'm gonna try, proxied out Legacy decks that I'm gonna try playing some more of. Um, I'm gonna name one here because I think that's probably better if someone's trying to win. Let's say we draw three cards. But yeah, that's something that I wanted to discuss with you guys because you guys do a pretty good job of listening because all I have to do is upload and you're already there. But yeah, did you have any like questions, comments, concerns? Leave them in the comments, I guess. I do a pretty good job of answering them because there's not that many right now. Um, but yeah, there's going to be more videos, obviously. Um, hopefully about like top decks in the meta, maybe tournament reports of tournaments that I don't go to. Stuff like that. We're gonna try branching out in content because I do enjoy coming on here and recording for 30, 40 minutes and just talking. I think it's pretty good for my mental health. Another thing you guys can do is buy a journal, right? Use it up. Like these first pages are basically all filled out, and it's just like life totals, poems, whatever I needed to write. A list on what things I have to do. This is a tournament plan that we have written out. Don't know when we're doing it yet, but it's going to be a mono blue tournament. But yeah, we have poems that you guys don't really need to read. We have lists, goals, um, a rainbow that a 5-year-old drew in my notebook. Pretty epic. Um, goals for podcasts. This is stuff that's already done, so we crossed it out. Games, and you can get in depth when you have a bigger notebook. Like we have this that we did. Um, this is what we were just talking about. But there's like so much more in the back of here. There's just literally like 7 poems. Um, this one's about like thunderstorms. Like it's just a good way to get things off your mind when you don't have someone to listen to you. Which I think everyone here should have someone to listen to. If you don't, please reach out. I'm a great listener. That's one of the things I'm really good at is shutting my mouth and just listening. That's that's where I feel the most useful is when I can just shut up and be a wall for someone to talk to. So if you're ever feeling that way, please reach out. If you need any advice on decks or anything, I'm also glad to help. I love this community. So let's just make it bigger. Support each other, live life, and of course, I love CDH, but Commander, God, it's the worst Magic the Gathering format. Let's be real with each other. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I think that's probably it for this episode. Let's do a few more test hands. That hand was pretty good on a mold of 5. I can't really complain about it. But um, yeah, I got the artist proof Talion, so I decided might as well build Talion for right now. Um, on the last video that we posted, Atlas commented, Bailey played Cheshire. So I think I'm gonna send Atlas a message and set up a day for me and him to like talk about it. So I get more familiar with the deck and I'll give it a try. I'm not opposed to trying new decks. I still also have to message Justin and learn Rocco. I want to try getting Justin on a episode where we just talk Rocco. I think that would be really fun. Yeah, I think that I did make a promise that the next big tournament I'll play Rocco, but I don't know if he remembers that. But I do want to learn Rocco. It was fun when I played Dylan's Rocco, which the two lists are very different, but yeah. Um, Roxai is obviously such a fun deck. Don't think I'm ever gonna take it apart. But I've been thinking about selling all my cards really. Not all my cards, but keeping like the cards to build like 3 to 4 CDH decks and then just getting rid of the rest of them. Because do I really need all of them if I only ever play CDH? And if my goal is to do better at tournaments, do I really need? Currently, I probably have like 30,000 cards right now. Um, I have a 5K with a bunch of cards on my desk, like right over here, I guess, right over there, and over there. Every which direction is just piles and piles of cards and sleeves and stuff. So I should probably figure that part out. But yeah, Talion. I built it um, on Sunday because I was like, let me take Blue Farm apart. It didn't feel good to play during the tournament. I had a lot of like turn 2 losses and stuff like that, which I guess is like Mulligan's faults, but I also only had one game where there was another blue player at the table. No, 2 games because there was a Karkashima and a Paka Holden player on one of them, but it was like double Magda Atali a game, Magda Crick Atali for another game. It was just a lot of not blue pods. And Blue Farm really likes having another blue player at the table, even though if they are the control deck, they still like having a little bit of backup. But yeah, I built the deck on Sunday, and then I played some games, 2 games with it. There was a crazy stack war. It was a Roxai, a Gale, me, and then a Malcolm Caddis deck. So 2 very cool decks, all 4 very cool decks. I love all those decks. I just love Magic if we're being real. But yeah, there was I think it was a 12 card stack in the first game with the Malcolm Kedis player winning. And then game 2, Nick, who was on Gale, tried to go for a win, which I responded to. He put Mnemonic Betrayal in the stack, and I responded to with a Commandeer, which the Commandeer resolved. I had a Born Upon the Wind in my hand, but he had one in his graveyard, so I cast that one. And then I was able to piece together a line after I bounced his Talion on 2, I think it was, or maybe 1, to find the win. We're going to 6 here. But that was a crazy stack. The first game had 3 Mystic Remoras out. Roxai going first played a fish. Nick played a fish. And then I played Mox Diamond Land Steel enchantment on the Rock's Eye fish, and then Brandon on his first turn played a fish. So there's 3 fish out on the table, none of them being Rock's Eye, so he just sat there like a little duck. And we kept the fishes around for so long. I think Brandon paid 6 mana for his fish at one point, and then he bounced it, and then he got reset. Um, it was a crazy game. I liked those games a lot. This hand's pretty good. It's a fish, consult, Psych Rift, Soul Ring, Glittery Cave, Seagate, Command Tower. I think realistically, um, I guess I don't know what seed order I'm going, but I was imagining that I was going second or not first. So we have to put one on bottom. I think it's this. And then I think realistically, we gemstones, getting rid of Psych Rift. You're probably asking why not like Seagate, but because if we don't draw the next land, our turn one's going to be Fish Soul Ring. But if we don't draw the next land, we have to choose to whether we keep fish or we pay for it and not cast Talion. I think we go here. This is insane. We'll go Soul Ring, and then we'll cast this fish, and say we draw 2 cards. Like now, it would have been fine if we exiled the Seagate, but I wanted to guarantee that we got the Talion plus our fish. Paid. Draw for turn. It's an Ancient Tomb, even better. Let's go Orchard, because I don't really think giving someone a 1/1 is really that relevant when we're on Talion. And then let's say we draw 3 cards. Oh, Jewel Lotus is really useful here. We probably just pay for the fish still. Draw for turn. It's a Delta. We can probably go Mana Crypt, tap it, have 1 floating here, and then we can go 4 floating with 3 blue Seagate. So we draw 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. We play this Polluted Delta, and then we just pass the turn with 1, 2, 3 pieces of interaction we can cast, plus a fish, plus a Talion. And then we slowly but surely get this Hullbreaker Horror. And then we assemble some kind of win from there with like the 1 ring. But yeah, that was a pretty good hand. Or we can even, no, I was gonna say we can dress down, but we can't dress down loop. But yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. Thank you for listening and for me ranting. This is probably gonna be a weird episode, and people aren't gonna totally like it. But I think it was an important conversation for me to have, and hopefully there's at least one person that watches it that can like resonate with it, and hopefully they find some kind of like a path forward when going through CDH or Magic or whatever they're going through in life. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Um, like, comment, share, do whatever you guys want to do. Because I am at your guys' will. I just do this for fun. You guys take it to where it needs to be. But yeah, thank you for watching. Peace.